I'm David K. Bernard, the General Superintendent of the United Pentecostal Church International. And we're coming to you from the studio at the World Headquarters here in Weldon Spring, Missouri, the St. Louis area. And I have with me two guests. First is Dr. Brent Coltharp from Aurora, Illinois. He is the president of Urshan College and Urshan Graduate School of Theology, which is here in the St. Louis area in Woodsville, Missouri. It is owned and operated by the UPCI. And then along with him is Sister Jennie who is the Executive Vice President of Urshan College and Urshan Graduate School of Theology. And she served with me for many years when I was president. And I'm very glad to have these two folks in the studio with us today. And I want to start out by asking exactly what is Urshan College and what is Urshan Graduate School of Theology?
Thank you, Dr. Bernard, and so good to be with you today. Urshan College and Urshan Graduate School of Theology are in higher education. Their mission is to prepare people, apostolics in particular, for service in the church and to the world. And so many times we talk about the Urshan system because that combines both the college, which is undergraduate, and then the graduate school, which is Urshan Graduate School of Theology. Urshan Graduate School of Theology offers degrees in Masters of Divinity and Christian Ministry, as does Urshan College, the undergraduate. But they have additional degrees as Christian College in Organizational Leadership, Human Services, and additional programs to offer. So we're trying to train, equip, prepare young people with our core values of biblical foundation, apostolic doctrine. We are spirit-filled Pentecostal believers, and we're preparing them to go out into the world and in the church to be servant leaders in those environments.
Now, I've got to jump to this question because we've just been informed that the Higher Learning Commission has given accreditation to both Urshan College and Urshan Graduate School of Theology. So is this really true? What does it mean? What is accreditation? I want to know what's going on because this is an amazing event for the apostolic movement.
Yes, it is. I mean, we're really excited about that. Of course, Sister Russell has led the charge for so much of that. The details, she probably sees it on the backside of her eyelids. But accreditation, just to start with, is important. First of all, UGST has been accredited for 10 years now with a national agency, the Association of Theological Schools. But we are really thrilled. We've been seeking regional accreditation, and there are 6 regional accreditors. We happen to be in the zone of the largest, which is HLC, the Higher Learning Commission, and covers about 16, 17 states, goes back to 1850s. And their job is to hold people accountable and to make sure that schools are doing what they say they will do, holding back to the mission. They're not to impose a mission. Some think about accreditation that someone outside is telling us what our mission is. And that's not what accreditation is. Accreditation is making sure we fulfill our mission. And so we are excited about that. It did take place in the last week of June. We've been working on this for some time. And we've got it early, a couple of years early. Some were even saying it would be 2004 before this would happen. And because of
24.
We are way behind with 2004. And because of Sister Russell and our faculty, our staff, administration, all the hard work that has taken place, we are at least 2 years early, and again, earlier than many predicted. But it has a host of benefits. Why don't you share some of the benefits of accreditation?
Well, some of the benefits of accreditation is that we are now able to offer our students federal financial aid, Pell Grants, loans. Employers are now working. If you're an accredited school, they have programs within their companies. If you are going to another college, maybe you want to go on and get a master's degree, a doctorate. If you're seeking a school that is accredited, you have to have credits from or a degree from an accredited school. So we'll be able to transfer credits in with no problem. Our degrees are will be recognized by all public universities and colleges now. We are all actually on their page. So if you go to the Higher Learning Commission's website, you can find both schools there. We're considered a system. So we are very excited. But I think we also, as we took this journey several years ago, I think it'd be good to also say what accreditation is not, because when we started this journey, there were so many discussions out there about, oh, you're going to have to compromise and you're going to have to lose your apostolic identity, and none of these things are true. We found out through the accreditation process that, if anything, it sort of endorsed us more, because there's like 5 really questions that you ask if you're going to an accredited school. What is your mission? I wrote these down because I thought they were so good. Are you fulfilling the mission and vision of your institution? Are you doing everything that your school does with honesty and transparency? Are you using faculty and staff that are qualified to teach? Are you self-reflective, and how do you do the things that you do? And are you strategically planning? Well, that's mission, integrity, faculty who have studied themselves to be approved, searching ourselves daily. So as a Christian, we do that anyway. So I think accreditation just bolstered who we are.
So you've talked about the practical benefits for students and graduates, obviously, federal financial aid, transferability of credits, recognition of degrees all across the world. So that's very practical. But for the institution itself, what I hear in these questions is accreditation actually forces you to be better. It forces you to do what you claim to do and to prove it. And actually, it forces you to undergo the training, the planning, and you didn't mention this part, but through the association, they're committed to giving you the professional assistance and collegial discussion that and the standards that it's one thing to say, I want a quality school, but how do you know what a quality school is? How can I pull myself up by the bootstraps? So this association, in essence, says, here's the standard for the USA. Here's what we expect. Here's what you should aspire to. And we will help you where you might be weak or lacking. We'll help you get there. You know, when we started this years ago, I know a big concern was, well, would it mean compromise of apostolic doctrine? Obviously, if it would have meant that, that's dead from the start. But and there was, I think people did have a point, because there is a Trinitarian accrediting association for Bible schools in North America. And if you want to be part of that, then you have to have a Trinitarian statement. But you've chosen to go with the secular accrediting association, which covers all kinds of schools: Catholic, Protestant, secular, Jewish, even Muslim. So then somebody might say, well, so you're going to have to adopt the secular, liberal, atheistic agenda. And I think the answer to that is, as I just mentioned, there's a variety of schools, and religious schools, thankfully, under U.S. law, have a specific exemption that we can uphold and enforce not only our doctrine, but our lifestyle. So our students, our faculty, our staff can be required to follow our articles of faith and our teaching, the Accrediting Association recognizes. But I think this is what I found helpful in talking to people that are not in the professional business. I said it's really about truth in advertising. So if you claim we are an apostolic school, they're not going to deny you accreditation. What they're going to say is, what does that mean to you? And prove that you're truly giving your students an apostolic education. Don't just have a generic program that you borrow from somebody else and put the word apostolic on it and claim that's what you're doing. You're going to have to prove it. Okay, what is apostolic doctrine? What is apostolic doctrine? Now, let's look at your textbooks. Let's look at your professors. Are they qualified to teach apostolic doctrine? So actually, when you look at it from that point of view, it's stronger, because if you just had a bunch of professors from various secular schools with no ministerial training or no apostolic background, they would say, you're not qualified because you're not doing what you claim to do. So I say rightly understood and rightly practiced, accreditation actually adds credibility
Yes.
to who you are and strengthens who you are.
And don't you both think that, I think through this accreditation process and even with the site visits, don't you both feel that we found out that when they came, how impressed they were of who we are, that we knew who our identity was and that we were practicing it?
I think, in fact, what was refreshing to me is how excited they were about our mission.
Yeah.
They see another group that has a particular mission. One of our team members that came to interview us is actually a church historian. And he absolutely loved being there and studying, hearing more about oneness, Pentecostalism, apostolic. We had no pushback in that area. And I think that's because, too, as you're mentioning about accreditation is about continuing to grow and to be true to what you say, that you're fulfilling your mission. Because accreditation is not just a finish line. Some view it as just crossing a finish line, but it is a continuing thing that takes place as you're continuing to want to get better in fulfilling your mission and to keep your standards high.
Let me transition a little bit. Why do you think it's important for the UPCI to have educational institutions? Why can't we just depend on, all the schools that are out there, or maybe local churches to provide instruction? We have a number of endorsed colleges. So why do we need colleges, and especially why do we need colleges that's owned by UPCI?
Great question. Well, to me, we live in a world that continues to prove why we need Christian apostolic education. There are so many worldviews that are being pushed in our day and time, whether it's a postmodern tribalism or into the scientific individualism and naturalism. All of these things are being pushed. And we as the United Pentecostal Church have a massive base of young people. Mm-hmm. In fact, I find, just as a local pastor and as a superintendent, that when I come in contact with many religious leaders, they are astounded by the youth of the United Pentecostal Church. When they hear about thousands coming to a youth convention or tens of thousands coming to a youth conference, they're just astounded by that. And too many of our church organizations in the world, they talk about their young people, when they graduate, they also graduate from their faith. Yes. Because many times they're going into environments where the worldview, whether it's an evolutionary worldview that is being promoted, undermine faith. And Urshan, as well as our other endorsed colleges, we celebrate apostolic doctrine and identity. We encourage it, we foster that. And we hope to ingrain that worldview that no matter what that young person is going to do, or with UGST and elder possibly seeking, they're going to be more founded in their faith going forward into the future. Right. And so it is critical. It is critical that we have an apostolic institution to go forward in this time.
You're a pastor, and I think that gives you a very practical perspective because you realize the end result. And I know I was a pastor for 18 years, and I tracked all of our young people. If they'd been in our church at least a year, and then they turned 18 or they became an adult. And here's what I found. If they moved off to a secular college, there was a high dropout rate of living for God, even though I try to connect them to a local church. Right. If they stayed in our area and went to a college in our area while attending church, very high retention rate, actually even higher than people that didn't go to college. Or if they went to one of our Bible colleges or UGST, at that time there was no UC. Mm-hmm. If they went to one of our own institutions, even though they had to move away from the home church, there was the same high retention rate. Right. So what's exciting to me is, sure, a lot of people can go to local colleges and universities, but and if you want to go to a Bible college, you want to go to ministry, you want to go to advanced training in seminary, that's great. But what if you want an undergraduate school, but you really want something specialized, or you want to go away? Well, until Urshan College, you didn't have that choice. Right. So either you had to go to a secular college, and if you didn't have what you wanted there, you moved off, and then you're in a high risk category. Mm-hmm. So what I'm really hoping is many young people will want to go to college for various majors. Yeah. They'll want to move somewhere. Well, this is going to, I think, fill a gap,
Yeah.
plug a hole,
Definitely.
where we can have a high retention rate.
Right.
So that no matter what career or what field they go to, they can still start with an apostolic base, an apostolic foundation.
Yeah.
And today college is like a high school degree was 25 years ago. So it's not as if we're providing a luxury, we're really providing something that's necessary, especially if we want to be a worldwide organization with world influence.
Right.
We need to fill this hole. And so I'm excited that we're doing that.
Yeah, and that's really sort of what my passion was for accreditation and higher education is some of the things that we have. Sometimes people ask me about our different endorsed institutions, and we have things that we share in common. We are all, and I've talked to some of the leaders of our other institutions just in the last few weeks. We are all committed to apostolic doctrine, to preaching and teaching the gospel, to Bible, to theology, to music. That's a part of all of our culture. But we've always, as a United Pentecostal Church, we've talked about the whole gospel to the whole world by the whole church. And one of my passions is probably, I don't know what percentage of people in a local church are going to be called to preach and teach the gospel. I would say it's less than 5%, just to guess anecdotally. And so that means that for that 5%, all of our institutions can help them with Bible, with worship music, that part. But what about the other 95%? They need to be just as grounded in apostolic doctrine, whether they're going to go into engineering. We have students in our church that are going into engineering and physician assistants and a variety of programs. They have not had any apostolic option to this point. But now with Urshan College and accreditation, they can come and whether it's 2 years, 4 years, however much they're going to get grounded in apostolic doctrine, get credits in their general education, that whatever they go to in master's degree or farther education, it's going to be able to transfer. And what would it be like in the United Pentecostal Church if our people who are getting education for various professions, they are grounded in apostolic doctrine, and they are our ushers and our Sunday school teachers and our board members. That is the goal, is the whole church equipped, because that's what the mission is. It's for us to equip apostolics to serve in the church and to the world wherever they're at. They're a missionary.
That's important to me as the general superintendent. I want all of our endorsed institutions to succeed. So we have about half a dozen Bible colleges that are officially endorsed by the UPCI. So they're owned by a local church or district, but UPCI officially endorses them. They all have an important role. So they have their own geographical niche, they have their own ministry niche, their own specialties. Right. Mm-hmm. So people might choose any one of them. And of course, Urshan College has that same Bible degree program plus the others that you mentioned. So all of these to me are important. It's important for them to succeed. And actually, if you take the view of the last 25 or 30 years, we saw a number of them closing. Mm-hmm. But I'm very happy to say that with the increased emphasis on education, not only are we seeing the growth of Urshan College, Urshan Graduate School, but we're seeing all of these other schools grow.
Right.
And actually, we have applications for 2 new ones. Right. And I personally think there's a need for more, not less. Right. So with that in mind, we're here talking about Urshan College, Urshan Graduate School, because after all, they are owned by the UPCI. But what do you have to say for the other Bible colleges? Because when people talk to me, and when I was a pastor, I had young people going to 6 different Bible colleges. Yeah. So, and I think you graduated from Christian Life College. Mm-hmm. You've been close to Indiana Bible College.
And I went 2 years at Texas.
You went to Texas Bible College. And I taught full-time for 5 years at Jackson College of Ministries. I taught some classes for Texas Bible College, for Apostolic Bible Institute, for Gateway College of Evangelism. I was a guest speaker for Indiana Bible College. So I've made the rounds. I taught classes for King Christian College. So I made the rounds. Mm-hmm. So I want to know what kind of relationship do your 2 schools have with our Bible colleges? So what's different about your schools, but also do you have partnerships? Can you work together? Are you helping each other? Are you just competing with each other, or just going your own separate directions, ignoring each other? What's going on? Tell me how we relate.
Well, there's always talk about competition and differences. Like I said, I've talked to Brother Carson with Indiana Bible College within the last couple of weeks. Brother Lopez from California, Stockton, contacted me personally to congratulate us on our accreditation. Brother McLaughlin in Texas and Texas Bible College as well. We've been in contact with all of them. And as you mentioned, I had 2 years in Texas and 2 years in IBC. I'm thankful to the Texas District and to Calvary Tabernacle for their investment in me,
Right.
Sister Russell in Stockton as well. Mm-hmm. And so we have, when you just look at Youth Congress, Brother Bernard, we have 35,000 young people that come to Youth Congress. And we're talking about less than 10, 5, 6, 7 endorsed institutions right now. We have plenty of young people and adult learners for all of our institutions. Mm-hmm. And so we are very much about partnership. In fact, that's been some of our conversation with the leaders. We're planning on getting together at General Conference to have some meals too, to get to know, I don't know Brother Lopez as well. We were talking about getting together because we do want to go forward. We want Urshan to be a partner and a resource. In fact, part of our mission for UGST is to be a research center. Mm-hmm. And so the Center of the Study of Oneness Pentecostalism, CSOP, is going to be on our campus and our heritage. We want to be that source. Now, different colleges have different programs, from a 3-year diploma, some go to a 4-year degree. And if those students want to go beyond that to accreditation, we can serve them. But we need to realize that Urshan Graduate School of Theology is the only Oneness Apostolic graduate school in North America. Mm-hmm. And so it has benefited that any of these institutions, their students are able to take next steps to go to UGST. And in fact, we have professors of other institutions who are wanting their institution to get accredited in their region, who are getting their master's degrees at UGST, where then they can go back and to be able to teach and be qualified for their accreditation. So in a sense, we are helping others in that process. They would have to go to other institutions to do so. And now that we have accreditation, we really couldn't make a lot of expansions or be open to a lot of options until we had accreditation. But one of the things Sister Russell and I have been talking about, we're starting to look at how can we partner with other institutions. I talked to one person, text messages as late as today, saying we're starting to work with that. How can we partner? How can we help? Because we all have the same mission. And as you said, we are all the same when it comes to our doctrine, preaching, teaching, these parts. We do offer some other aspects. And so if students want to continue in other places, they can come to Urshan. But we're very much about partnership and seeing our mission go forward.
So let me just let me ask a practical question. So let's say I'm a graduate of one of our other Bible colleges. I have a 4-year degree, but it's not accredited.
Right.
So can I go to UGST or?
Yes, definitely.
You can accept me and I can get an accredited master's degree?
Yes.
So I can go from an unaccredited bachelor's degree to an accredited master's degree?
And we have several that have done that. We have some that have graduated from ABI. We have had Texas Bible College. We have Indiana Bible College that have come and went to UGST and have graduated. So it is an opportunity, and I don't think that's very well known right now, that if you go to one of our endorsed Bible colleges, that you can come to there and we accept those degrees, and you don't have to do any extra work. You come in as a qualified student with a qualified degree.
So you're validating those Bible colleges.
Right.
Most definitely.
And I think some might not get how important this is, because this happened with me. I went 2 years in Texas Bible College. I graduated from Indiana Bible College, and then I applied to Wheaton College for graduate school. There was not an apostolic graduate school. Most of your institutions, at the limit is to be able to accept maybe 10% based on their standing of unaccredited undergraduate degrees. And so I was accepted. They put me on probation at first, and then they knocked that out after a semester when I demonstrated I could do the work. We are able to accept any of the graduates of any of our Bible colleges into UGST. And so that is just a wonderful benefit for the apostolic movement.
So let me follow up. Let's say you mentioned some Bible colleges might have a 3-year program. So let's say I go through the 3-year program, I graduate. It's not accredited. So what if I say, you know what, I really want a bachelor's degree. So if I take the 3 years I already have
Yes.
Do I have to start all over at UC, or can you help me out?
No, you do not have to start over. Many of the classes that you take at the other colleges, if you're going, it depends on what degree you want.
Right.
So we are able to accept the credits that go into that specific program. So maybe let's qualify that. So if you're a theology major and you want to go into Christian ministries, a lot of your credits will go towards that already. You don't have to retake certain classes, but we just do a review of your transcript.
So you just have to make sure that I've taken all the classes I need for your degree.
Yes.
Right.
But basically, in other words, you can do a degree completion program and use my unaccredited credits, but use that to build towards an accredited bachelor's.
Yeah, so we're working on those programs as we speak. Even now, we're talking about more degree completion programs and how we can better serve the other colleges. Because
so it'd be ideal if the two schools would work the program together.
Yes.
So you'd know up front, I can take all these classes.
Right.
Then if I want to go further,
yes,
Urshan will accept them.
Right.
You know before you even start.
Right.
Where you are. Well, let me also ask, how did we get here? I mean, this didn't happen overnight. I think I know that. But at least I wanted to give you an opportunity.
As the new president, I think you should really.
Yeah, I love that. It's being asked a question by somebody who knows 10 times about it more than you do. Okay, how we got here. Of course, this is a historic year, 2020, because this is the 20th year of Urshan Graduate School of Theology, as you know. And we're looking forward to celebrating that this year and conference, everything part. But so in 2000, the goal was to have a graduate school. We had many undergraduate Christian or Bible colleges at that time. And so that began, and in 2010 received accreditation. But in 2011 with HLC, in 2011, UGST purchased Gateway College of Evangelism, which has been in the St. Louis area, in fact, on the Howdersville campus for 40 plus years. And then began the process. They opened it up in 2012 as Urshan College, a Christian college, and began the journey toward accreditation. So we owe it to UGST, who had this burden and purchased it. And then we are also very thankful for all of the years that paved the way in the Missouri district. When I think of Gateway, and I think Brother Branning and Brother Parkey and Brother Dugas, different ones who really gave. They had this vision before, and when the United Pentecostal Church through Urshan Graduate School of Theology wanted to have an accredited Christian college, that led us to where we are at today.
Yes, and I can give a little bit of the rest of the story. The UGST was actually voted into existence by the General Conference in 1999. So it's created by UPCI, the highest body.
Yeah.
Now, I was asked, it wasn't my idea or vision. I had no idea when we voted for it that it would change my life.
Yeah.
But in 2000, they asked me if I'd be the president. I said no, but then, because I said I'm pastor and that's what I'm supposed to do. And then they said, well, we'll let you pastor too. So, well, thanks. You can have two jobs.
Yeah.
And also, I remember in 2011, Gateway has a long history with the Missouri district, as you mentioned. But they were at a point of crisis financially in so many ways. And really, frankly, they came to me as the UGST president, basically to say, we don't think we can continue another year without a major change. And of course, if they had to close down, then they'd have to sell the campus. UGST was renting the campus, and we were sharing a lot of resources and even some faculty, the library.
Yeah. So
that would have put, now as a UGST president, I'm having to scramble how to survive. Mm-hmm. And so they made the proposal. Well, everybody's been talking about doing something that's never been done before, a Christian college. And so, we think we could, preserve our assets. And so the Urshan board decided, yes, let's accept this challenge. And then we're in the hat of the general superintendent. I said, well, you know what? This has such a major impact. I need the general board to weigh in on this. And so I don't feel comfortable just accepting that, even though we could have, just as an Urshan board. I felt like the general board needed to weigh in. And so they're faced with a choice of either closing down a Bible college or leveraging that Bible college to move forward with a Christian college. And in retrospect, it was a long process, but we're seeing that decision that was made in 2011, 2012, we're seeing the direct benefits. And I like to say, we started with a graduate school, made all this investment, but we were able to leverage that into a college for free because the UPCI hasn't really contributed anything other than, of course, many generous contributions from individuals, churches, districts, whatever. But I mean, the UPCI as an institution invested in the graduate school, and they ended up getting 2 schools for 1. So that's exciting. All right. Let's see where some other questions. I want to make sure we cover everything. So I think maybe we've asked, I have a question here. Why should students at Urshan instead of, say, a local college or state college? Perhaps you've answered that.
Can I throw something in on that? You all both talked about being pastors. Barna does research, Christian research. And in 2018, they said there's 20 million freshmen that will walk on college campuses, but 60 to 80% we're going to lose their connection with their Christianity and their faith. And I think we see that in the news right now. This is the next generation of leadership. And why choose a Christian college versus a secular college? Well, I think a lot of it has to do with, the faculty that engages in their students' lives. Our faculty and staff are amazing. They mentor, they are available after hours. But the culture that we create, you set the foundation of who you are as an adult in your 20s. If we do not help them cultivate who they become, that's left to a secular world. So if we are going to do what we need to do, I think that is one of the reasons why it's so important to have Christian college.
I think we find that a lot of our most young people that come to college, they are committed to our doctrine. They believe, they have an experience.
Right.
But theologically, they're not prepared.
Postmodernism.
Or intellectually, they're not prepared for the onslaught of the world in an academic or intellectual or professional level. And so that's where Urshan College comes in. Well, we've talked a lot about accreditation because that's the late breaking news, but there's also other breaking news of the last year. You've got an entirely new campus.
Oh, yes, we do.
So tell me about that too.
Yes, coming up, I was telling, I've said many times, coming in as president, 2 objectives right off the bat was accreditation and then a campus. The Howdershell campus where we were, and we're going back for 4 decades more, served us well. And we're very thankful for it. In fact, there's things we miss about it, just amazing chapel.
Yes.
But we were outgrowing our space. And when we started looking at what it would take to create more residency, to create more classrooms, to maintain what we had there, we started looking at what the options were. Was it to do that at that location? And then we came across a property in Wentzville, Missouri, where we are at. Obviously, that's the one that won the day. And it allowed us to go to Wentzville with 42 acres, 130,000 square feet, over 5 buildings, 4 primary buildings. 1 is a maintenance building. And so it just gave us space that we never dreamt of, a great location at 70. And is it 64, right at that cross section. And it had been historically GTE, Verizon, these different kind of companies. And so we did have a challenge. The administration building was almost ready. We just had to build a few classrooms. We were ready to go. The residential hall was a little bit more of a challenge, took us a while. But now we are so blessed. Our residential hall is like a brand new building completely within an hour. Our students love that. Our classrooms are set. And so it's been a huge blessing. Plenty of room and room for all our staff. And we have room to expand because our vision is not just where we're at. We want to continue to grow. Accreditation allows us to add additional programs. When we talk about the future of the United Pentecostal Church, we are investigating a doctor of ministry program with UGST. There's a market for there, a lot of desire for people who have master's degrees to go on to the next level in ministry. And even other graduate programs. As we have grown human services and organizational leadership, we have space there to where we can add graduate programs as we go in the future and continue to minister. So we're really excited about that location. In fact, we'd invite anybody to come and be a part of it. We're going to actually dedicate the location coming up. And it's just an exciting time for us to go into these facilities.
So what do you see as the future of your institution?
Okay.
What's going to happen in the next 5 or 10 years?
The next 5 or 10 years. Of course, we're continuing to grow. We're thankful that students, even with COVID and everything else, are registering. They want to come to Urshan. So we're excited about that. But we're seeing programs grow, and we're seeing that now that our apostolics have options. Our biblical and Christian ministry programs are strong as ever, and they're growing.
Right.
But we're also seeing growing in human services and organizational leadership. Music is growing. So we're seeing it across the board. And we're hearing from professionals in our movement that are chomping at the bit to see a variety of programs added. So we're going to have to do that systematically as we are able to with the market and financially and all that. But I see Urshan College continuing to be able to expand its programs and offerings, both the undergraduate and the graduate schools. And we just want it to be a great resource that no matter what anybody's calling is, we believe that no matter what God's calling is for somebody's life, Urshan can be a part of that in going through in their education preparing.
You mentioned COVID-19. Of course, the news changes weekly and you can't predict the future, but I would just say this. You've got so much space on the campus that whatever social distancing requirements are needed for the classrooms or activities, looks like you'll be able to have on-campus activities
Yes.
without too much trouble.
Yeah.
So are you planning to open
yes,
up?
sir.
Yeah.
Yes, sir. Our plans are to open up middle of August. Our students are really excited. I keep hearing from them at different times. They are wanting to come. I think their parents are probably excited too. But we are looking forward to that, to getting on campus. We're working right now to figure out the best protocols, how to manage that, as every institution of higher learning is trying to figure it out. And because it does change daily, strategies to do so. But we're really excited about that. We know we do have an online presence, and that's been the beauty too, is that we have students as far away as Australia. I don't know if you can go any farther, as Australia, who are students online. And accreditation allows us to open that up. We're in the process of getting states that we once could not offer classes.
Right.
We have those applications. We're hoping within the next 30 days or so that'll be complete. Where no matter what, people can come, undergraduate or graduate. But there is something powerful about being together on a campus, in a community, worshiping together, studying together, and building that culture. So we're really excited about people coming back.
Well, there's so much we've talked about, there's so much we can talk about, but as we start wrapping this up, I want to ask you, how can our viewers become part of the Urshan story? And also, we are, it's not just an educational institution, but it's a spiritual institution. So I'm interested in how maybe a young person can be involved, or how a pastor or a parent or a grandparent can be involved, or say a business professional that is just excited about what they're hearing. And then also, can you just tell us how can we not only support the school in practical ways or material ways, but spiritually speaking, how can we be part of the Urshan story?
You want to go first?
Well, I think one of those ways is scholarships. We have a thing called Apostolic Legends, where you can invest into an endowment, and it's perpetual, so your money will go to a student every year. And I think that another way would be, we really could use help in facilities. And if people want to volunteer, if they want to come, we have, as we said, we have this large new campus, but even with the large new campus. So if you have people that in your churches, or if you're interested in coming and helping, those are some practical ways of helping. So I think that's the beginning.
Yeah, and anybody that wants to give can do so. They can go to urshancollege.org, UGST.org. There is a tab that says give. They can give now. They can give it designated toward a scholarship. They have those options online. And of course, they can call us. We'd be glad to serve them. They call, email, we will follow up. And to those business folks out there, we're going into a capital campaign because we do need to expand. We need to grow residential space. We're so glad because of growth, we're filling up our residential space. We have property there and we have buildings, but it does take quite a bit to refurbish those. And the Lord lays $1 million on someone's heart, I'll personally come and get it from your address. I'll fly there and get it personally. But giving is a big thing. And where we're at is because of volunteers too. Well, I think of some of the local people here in Missouri, in fact.
Yes, very much.
We had people people going and with a box of keys just to find out what key fit what door. We had people helping us with drywall and in so many areas benefiting it. So whether it's volunteer, finance, obviously prayer and encouragement, and all of those things are needed right now.
Well, let me inspire you. I don't have $1 million. I did set up my family.
Yes.
I talked to my sisters, and then we had some other people help us, but we set up one of those Apostolic Legend scholarships first for my dad, then for my mom.
Yes.
And then the district I was part of set up one for me. We also got one set up for my wife.
Right.
I think we got one set up for my mother-in-law, but these provide a scholarship every year forever till the Lord comes.
Yes.
So that's a great way to honor someone.
Yeah.
When I was a pastor, I did, in our last building program, I received a check for $1 million. And then right after we made the decision to start Urshan College by faith, I had a personal friend and business person contact me with an opportunity. He said, I have this foundation that I want to turn over to you. Whatever you can get out of it, you can have it. I said, can I have it for Urshan College? He said, yes. And it took about 2 years of work, but we got a $2 million donation out of that. So I do believe God wants to give you some large chunks. Yes. But I also believe that monthly partners, annual partners, scholarships, maybe $1,000 or maybe $25,000 to set up a permanent scholarship.
Right.
Yeah.
I think you're going to need all of above. And as you mentioned, people donating their special services, maybe somebody with IT or somebody with building experience, trades, electricity, whatever. I'm sure they're going to need specific projects or
very much
large and small, or even if somebody wants to contribute to doing a dorm room or something. Right. I'm sure there are going to be many options. So if they go to UGST.edu, they can get any contact information they need, or they can donate. Or if they go to urshancollege.org, they can get the same information. They can get your contact information as well on either of those two places.
Yes.
But I think you also need prayer. So as we summarize this, tell us how we can support you in prayer.
Well, I think for us right now, of course, and for everybody, I'm sure, the COVID-19, the pandemic, has thrown a wrench into our plans. We had to go online early after spring break. And so as it continues to adjust, and I think probably all of our institutions, we're all praying for us to be able to come back, for everything to be smooth with that. Like I said, our plans are, we're fully going ahead with that. But we would really appreciate prayers going forward on that. And then again, a lot of it is about provision, because we continue to have more people seeing the need and feeling called. And so we're praying for them. In fact, even right now, I know we're in July, but people are wrestling with the call and are feeling the tug now. And so we're praying that the ones who need to come to Urshan right now, maybe even after here, they'll fill that application out, get that started for the institution. And then, of course, as we mentioned, provision, because as we are growing, we are going to need to expand residential space. We need a chapel. We do not have a permanent chapel right now. So there are all of those needs. And when people give financially or with their work, it helps us to get there. But I do think for our students' protection and coming, and for this coming year, we want to see great things happen, and because the mission is just so important.
Yes.
Amen. Well, thank you so much for coming, and I appreciate all that information. And we'll be in prayer that God supplies your needs and gives you wisdom and direction, and so that as you shape not only young people, but also people that are already fully involved in ministry, to help them expand their ministry and extend their mission as we bring apostolic revival to the world. Amen. The whole gospel to the whole world by the whole church. God bless you.